Welcome to Ghost Diver, my name is Davide and today we continue our series about your individual diving skills. It's time to speak about your buoyancy. How do you know if you are properly neutral? You must be able to hover without any help from your lungs. Before to continue, guys, go check my last video about breathing where I explain how you should set your BCD neutral when your lungs are almost empty. Today we are gonna see how you can master the use of your buoyancy control device to cover and maintain depth as well as changing depth. Limit the use of your lungs to control your buoyancy to minor adjustments of no more than 1 foot, 30-40 centimeters. Everything else has to be done with the BCD. Guys, to use the inflator properly, let's start with deflating. If you are vertical, you already know that you have to extend this thing upward, stretch it, and release the air. The problem is when we are horizontal. What I see most of the time is that divers try to go up because they know that the air has to go up, but you know that this curve is not going to allow the air to go out. So my recommendation is this. When you want to deflate while maintaining an horizontal position, stretch it, the deflator horizontally and tilt a little bit on the side, okay? Because this is already enough of an angle to allow the air to escape, and we are not creating this awful curve, but it's nicely stretched. Let's speak about inflating this thing now. There are two ways to do it precisely. You either give few shots or push it only halfway, okay? So it's gonna keep inflating all the time, but much slower than if you keep pushing it all the way. This thing can be as precise as your lungs to control the buoyancy. This thing over here is not supposed to be pulled like that as if you're flushing the toilet, okay? Because if you hold it with all your fingers like this and you gently pull it, it can be very precise. Guys, we have to talk about how to behave at the surface. Relax and slow down your heart rhythm, otherwise it's gonna be impossible to maintain a controlled breathing pattern. So once your wing is properly inflated, your neck should emerge from the water as well as your shoulders. You should be able to keep your hands out of the water comfortably. The position of your legs should be the same like if you're sitting on a chair or on a couch. They should be in front of you, and you should not really need to kick too much to maintain yourself stable. This is gonna allow you to relax and prepare for the descent. It's time to go down, guys, so deflate completely your BCD, and you also have to deflate your lungs. To make sure that you don't breathe in right away, I recommend you to remove your regulator and keep your lungs empty as long as possible. This is also gonna help you to calculate how much weight you need. Because if you go down too fast, maybe you have too much weight. Definitely, like this, you make sure that you do not carry weight just because you are unable to empty your lungs. It's time to find our neutral buoyancy, and as I said in the previous video, find neutral buoyancy during the respiratory pause when the lungs are almost empty. Just use your BCD, make sure you don't keep air in your lungs. Choose a visual reference to maintain your buoyancy. Give yourself a feedback by removing the regulator. Make sure you don't sink. This means you're neutral. You might have to inflate the BCD. Once it's time to put the regulator back in your mouth, inhale and exhale within the buoyancy delay so you make sure that you don't pop up. When you want to perform depth changes of more than half meter, it's super important, guys, that you inflate your BCD to start to go up and then you deflate to level off at your next depth. Once you're there, double check that your buoyancy is appropriate by, again, remove the regulator, make sure you don't sink, put it back and keep breathing normally. When instead you want to go lower, you can deflate the BCD or even exhale, completely empty your lungs. Either way is gonna work. Once you start sinking, super important, inflate your wing instead of inflating your lungs. Because once you reach your new depth, you wanna remove your regulator again to give yourself a feedback to make sure that you're neutral with no air in your lungs. So guys, the two concepts that I want you to bring home today are Number 1, use properly the inflator and the dump valve of your BCD, because this thing can be very precise if you know how to use it. And number 2 is give yourself a feedback by removing the regulator to make sure that you can stay neutral just with your BCD with the lungs almost empty. Guys, it's time to click the subscribe button so you can keep learning cool stuff like that, and you can also visit my websites to check all my training programs. Thank you so much for sticking until the end, and I will see you next time.